I thought it was maybe simpler to make a video than have an online meeting and have lots of discussion about the whole thing. I'm sure that there are people with lots of questions about this. Is essentially about the roads, the state of the roads and the repairs and what we're doing. Basically, we've managed to fill some of the larger potholes in Muller and Foster. The intention is to complete Muller up to Ash, and then the top end of Foster where it goes up towards Gum. There are, like I said in the text message the other day, there are lots of holes, and it's actually sort of pointless mentioning all of them because they are everywhere. I think all of you that use the roads know that they are everywhere and the size of them. So we have taken a drive around, and Rian and I took a long drive around yesterday and looked at various places to see, or to try and excuse me, to try and prioritize what we do next and what we try and achieve. One of the issues, of course, is the weather. We're supposed to be getting rain later or tomorrow, and then it looks like it's going to be wet for the rest of the week, so that's potentially a problem. So trying to work around that. Well, we'll do what we can. It's all of this is weather dependent, of course. We can't go and do it in the rain. That's counterproductive. But we've managed to fill a fair number of holes, some of the really large ones. The road stabilizer mix and the fill that we're putting in there, of course, is not perfect. It's not giving us a tar road, but it does fill the hole to a point where you don't potentially damage a vehicle. One of the problems, of course, is that people are now driving much faster down the roads, and that damages the fill because it's not set yet. But unfortunately, that's the nature of people, and we don't have any control over how they drive down the roads. So what I would ask you to do, please, is try and lead by example. And by that I mean, when you drive down the roads where they've been filled, drive slowly. Do 45 kilometers an hour rather than 80 or 75. You know, you're gonna spend another 10 seconds getting to your destination, literally, and it is going to extend the life of the repair a long way. So, and my hope is that the more people that see people driving gently and slowly over the repaired roads, that will rub off on others, and maybe they will follow suit. Obviously, there are the idiots that will drive the way they drive. Unfortunately, it seems to be that there are always idiots that think it's a racetrack. And don't get me wrong here, I have nothing against speed. I think speed limits are stupid. But I think in this instance, people would do well to just slow the hell down. If your life is in such a rush that you have to speed everywhere, maybe you need to examine your life. Unfortunately, like with all of these things, I think I'm sort of preaching to the choir here. I think anyone that's actually watching this or is showing any interest in it or participating in any way or contributing in any way, I think actually feels that they have a vested interest in it, and those that probably caused the problem and will cause future problems, unfortunately they won't be watching this, they won't be on the groups. But again, that seems to just be the nature of people. We can get disappointed about it or angry or whatever, but it doesn't, there's no good point in it. So we should just carry on the way we are carrying on right now, I think. Something else I think I need to mention, and I don't want this to turn into a whole philosophical thing or a political rant, but we had a couple of people stopping on the side of the road, you know, it's actually quite interesting, the types of people that come, or the reactions that we get from people out there. You know, when we when we dare to block off the road uh, and impede their progress. It's actually quite interesting to see the reactions, the wide range of reaction. You know, from really positive to really negative, like people swearing and making excuses about, well, I didn't see the cones, and real stupid stuff, you know. And then we have the absurd reactions, like, well, you should stop paying your rates and taxes. And yeah, we should, but and we're working on how to do that so that we don't have the powers that be descend upon us and cut the electricity off and stuff like that. We are working on that, but the inference that, well, we should hold the government accountable, that's a joke. If anybody thinks that this problem is going away, whether it's the roads, the potholes, the condition of the roads, the whatever it is, the road markings, the electrical infrastructure, the water, any of that stuff, if anybody thinks that that's going away overnight or in a short period of time, you are naive. You are absolutely naive. Unfortunately, what we are experiencing is the result of decades worth of degradation and no maintenance. And you don't fix a problem like that, certainly not overnight. And there has to be some desire to actually fix it, not to just placate the masses. And unfortunately, we have a situation where the politicians will placate those masses that will cause them the biggest upset. And this community is actually very peaceful in that respect. And I'm not suggesting that we should become anything other than that. But what I would like to suggest is that the only way to actually make life here more pleasant is to sort out a lot of the stuff ourselves. So I have some thoughts about how to do that. I know that there are some others that are contributing and participating, and we all seem to be thinking in the same direction. And what I would ask is that you, if you haven't been present or felt you can't contribute or felt you can't participate, reevaluate that. Reevaluate that again, because it doesn't mean that you have to make large financial deposits that we can turn into road stabilizer fill for a pothole or something like that. Maybe it just means that you come and spend a few hours on the road with us and, you know, dig a hole or two. Maybe it just means that you bring a bottle of water. Maybe it just means that someone comes along and throws some vorse on a fire on the side of the road. And you know, this all goes back, and if you've listened to anything that I've said over the last decade or more, you will have heard this message multiple times. But I think it needs reinforcing, and the message is basically this: that we don't actually have to all like each other. We don't have to get along or go to the same church or sit around the same table and eat the same food. People are different, and we will have differences. But we should understand that there's more commonality, and there's more purpose in having a common goal than having separate type of intention and goals. One of the things that came of putting some effort into the roads and filling it is that it inspired other people to do that, and I applaud their efforts. I think it's great that people have looked at it and gone, okay, cool, we'll try and do that too. I think it's very good. I think a better approach would be to come along together and talk to us, so that we're all doing it in the same in the same manner, in the same fashion. Because there's a way to, for example, with the roads, there's a way to do it properly, and there's a way that you shouldn't be doing it, because it's just really a waste of your time and money and effort. The way we have been doing it is proving to be fairly effective, and I'm talking about the physical, mechanical means in which we're doing it, rather than just slopping some fill in a hole and, before not cleaning it out and stuff like that. The point is this: getting everybody on the same page, or at least a similar page, that will stand the entire area in good stead, and that then makes it makes for a good end result. So if you've felt inspired by what we've been doing and decided to go out there and clean out your own pothole outside your driveway, that's great. But ask a few questions and just do it in a way that's going to give you a decent result. Don't just go and throw a lump of concrete in it, because you're likely to end up with a lump of concrete outside your driveway and a bigger hole around it eventually. So yeah, use this group to put your thoughts there, ask questions, so that we can try and achieve a more uniform result across the area, because that stands everybody in better stead going forward. Something else that needs mentioning when we were driving around yesterday is that the few roads that are in good condition, where there are decent curbs and things like that, there's a lot of dirt that's built up, to the point where we now have grass growing in certain places along the curb sides and at the interface between the concrete curbs and the tar road, and that's no good. That's just a recipe for future disaster. So what I would ask you, please, if you go out, if you happen to live where there is a decent piece of road and a decent verge with a concrete curb, get out there with a spade, whether it's you or your garden engineer or whoever it is, I don't care, your teenager. Get out there with a spade and clean it up. Shovel away the sand that's washed into the areas. Shovel away the grass that's growing up there. Sprinkle some salt on it so it doesn't regrow. Do something to maintain just a little piece outside your place. And if there's big holes, we'll come along and try and fix them eventually. But try and do a little bit on your own. There are a lot of people that have been doing a lot of driving past where we've been working, and it's quite obvious that there is a general approach of, oh, someone else is doing it. Now, I'll explain the end result of that if you really want me to, but I think you can work it out on your own. I think one of the reasons we have the situation that we do is because the majority of people have decided to have that approach of, well, I'm paying my rates and taxes and I expect somebody else to do it. And in a normal world, that would be okay. You are paying for a service, but ask yourself this: how long do you not need to receive the service for which you are paying before you end up moaning yourself to death because nobody provided you with the service? So, as far as the financial situation is concerned, we've had some really good contributions. We've got to a point where we can probably afford another 10 cubic meters of fill, and we've done probably about 10 or 12 already, and that'll give you an indication, and that's just on a stretch of probably less than a kilometer of road so far. So that'll give you an indication of the severity of the problem. but we've had some very generous donations, and to all of you, if you've donated financially to the cause, thank you very much. It's highly appreciated. And what I would ask is that you are just a little patient. We will try and get to where you are. And that's another thing. If people are contributing financially to the thing, we are going to focus on trying to fix in the vicinity of where you are. I don't think that that's an unfair thing. Why should somebody at the top of the road or an outlying area where they aren't interested in contributing or participating, why should they benefit from somebody else's contribution? Because then we end up in the same boat that we are now, where the rates and taxes that you pay end up going into other areas, Vosloorus or Tembisa or Davyton or Faramir or wherever it is, somewhere other than here, we end up in the same situation. This is really getting quite long now, but I'll end it with this. We had an amusing interchange with a guy that drove through. He wanted to come through the piece where we were filling, and he sat there for a few minutes chatting to us, and he's from Tembisa, and we ended up having a little bit of a political discussion about the cause of all of this stuff. And his suggestion was that I should write a letter to Ramaphosa, and I did have a good laugh. And I had to explain to him that the first thing was that there's no way that he was going to read my letter. And if he thought that any of that was going to bring about any change in this little area, then he was delusional. But he should carry on and enjoy the good roads that he now has. Anyway, it was quite amusing. So I'll leave you with that. This is, as I said, getting really long, and I hope you've managed to listen to the end. What I would do lastly is encourage you, please, to contribute in some way. There are a handful of people still trying to get this done, and we need more than a handful of people. Something else that's noticeable is that it is the older folk. I see no youngsters, I see no teenagers, I see no younger adults. That's not true. We have a handful of them, but it's the regulars. It's the same old people all the time. The average age of the work crew out there is probably 55 years old. I haven't worked it out, but that's just off the top of my head. That's a guess. So work that out. You need to ask yourself, where are the 18-year-olds? Where are the 20-year-olds? You would have seen my rant the other day about the two kids walking down the road explaining to me that no, it's the weekend. They can't do that. You need to take stock of that and think about what that means for the future, your future, and the future of the area, and the future of our community in general. If that is the attitude of the kids, which comes from the parents, mind you, then you should be worried. You should be a little bit concerned that things are just going to exponentially faster go downhill. So if you have youngsters at home that are able to wield a pick or a shovel or just take instruction, you're welcome to bring them along and have them help out. We would appreciate it. We'll find something for them to do, and it probably won't hurt them. It'll probably do them some good. So think on that. We'll keep you updated here in terms of where there is work going on, at what time, and if you're able to join in, again, it would be greatly appreciated. Thanks.